I decided to listen to him finally and started doing my walks. It became a beautiful thing because I would get out every single day. I'm a podcaster. And then I started to just block out my noon. And I decided to make my lunchtime be a time that I would just go on a walk in the neighborhood next to my office.
Most hosts never achieve the results they hoped for. They're falling short on listenership and monetization, meaning their message isn't being heard and their show ends up costing them money. This podcast was created to help you grow your listenership and make money while you're at it. Get ready to take notes. Here's your host, Adam Adams.
Hey, podcaster, it's your host, Adam Adams. On this episode, I want to talk to you about something that can help you be a better podcaster and just in general, just benefit you in life, honestly. I'm wondering if, and I know the answer, have you ever had a bad night's sleep? Have you ever thought, I want to sleep better? Have you ever said to yourself, hey, I wish I looked more healthy. I looked more fit. Have you ever said to yourself, I want more energy during the day? Have you ever said, I want better mental health? Or I don't want any diseases like diabetes or whatever. Have you ever thought about something like that? I'm sure you've thought about one or two of those things. If you're human, you probably want to avoid some of those things. You will probably want better night's sleep. We're going to be talking about something on this episode that's going to really benefit you in a lot of ways, especially as a podcaster. And I want to talk to you about how it can help you as a podcaster. And first, before I get into it, I want to tell a quick story about myself. I hired this coach, a physical trainer, like a couple years ago. And when I hired this trainer, I had absolute dad bod. I mean, I didn't look that great. I was strong. I was stronger than many people in the gym, but I didn't really look it. I didn't really look the part. My body's testosterone, my body's natural hormones were not in balance. And I had a big gut because of what I was eating, what I was drinking, how I was being stressed, and et cetera, some stuff like that. And I hired this guy. I pay him a lot of money, like a really decent amount of money, which I wanted him to help me get rid of this belly since I was working out a lot. And he gave me tons of things to do. He gave me a whole list of things, what to eat, macros, your protein, your carbs and your fats, and when to eat, how many meals to eat. He gave me a lot. Walk every day, get your 10,000 steps in, get your blood work done so I can look at your blood work and I can basically tell you what else you need to eat to be able to optimize your hormones, to be able to benefit you a lot better. And at the time, I was very sluggish. I remember when I hired him, I remember trying to get out of bed. Like literally trying to get out of bed and I couldn't like lean forward all the way because my gut was too big. So I couldn't really lean forward all the way. And I thought, man, I'm not old enough to feel the way that I feel. And that's why I was like, I'm going to pay him the money. Right. So I did that and I didn't listen to everything. So I've always been afraid of needles. And so when he said, get your blood work checked, I avoided that. He basically told me, you could eat 3 Brazil nuts and that will help you with selenium, which basically in turn helps your body's own hormones to be able to produce more testosterone. So you're in a more of an anabolic state, which basically means that you burn more fat and you build more muscle. And I was like, well, what else? I'm eating these 3 Brazil nuts every morning, like you told me. What else? And he kept saying, I can't tell you until you do your blood work. I avoided it for a long, long time. Another thing that I avoided that he told me to do was to do my 10,000 steps. I thought it was effing ridiculous. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like that takes hours. That takes like probably 2 hours to be able to walk 10,000 steps. So if I want to go from walking like 3-ish thousand steps to walking 10-ish thousand steps, I've got that additional 7,000 steps. And it's basically 2,000 steps per mile, just so you are aware, 2,000 steps per mile. And for most of us, it's going to take about a half an hour to do a mile because we're basically walking about 2 to 3 miles per hour. So it's going to take about 20, 30, 40 minutes to walk a mile. So let's just say a half an hour. And so to think that I've got to do 2,000, 7,000 divided by 2 is 3.5, right? 3.5 sets of half an hour. So that is basically at least an hour and up to a little over 2 hours. I thought, this is crazy. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to run instead, or I'm going to ride my bike instead. And I thought it was interesting because I was trying to burn the same amount of calories that he told me to do. But the problem was that if we go back to another episode that we talked about where there's a difference between sympathetic and parasympathetic, the sympathetic is fight or flight response. So when we do a HIIT exercise, now it's not to mean that you should never do high intensity interval training. It's not to say that. It's just to say that we should know and understand when we're running, we are stressing our body. Now, if you're doing that at a short burst, not too bad. But if you're trying to do all of your calories that you burn, if you're trying to do all of that with running and active exercise, and you're basically in a sympathetic place, your body's going to be in fight or flight. And essentially, one of the things that happens is you increase your cortisol. When you increase your cortisol, you're basically telling your body, oh shit, he might die or she might die, and I've got to protect him. I've got to protect her. And so basically what it does is it turns off your testosterone, which men and women both need. It turns off your testosterone and it increases your cortisol, because you can either really have cortisol and testosterone are going to be balanced somehow. So think of that as a teeter-totter. You've got them in the middle. They're both equal. If you increase cortisol, testosterone has to go down. If you increase testosterone, cortisol has to come down. If you're trying to run a marathon or go mountain biking or whatever, you essentially, for that period of time, you put yourself into a stressful place. You are going into a sympathetic nervous system. You are basically increasing cortisol, which means you decrease testosterone. There's a reason that I'm telling you all this. And so, but the point is that I ignored him. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then he was like, you're not getting the results because you're not doing the stuff. And I'm like, I'm doing better than this stuff. I'm running instead of walking. He's like, no, there's a reason why I'm telling you to walk. And he went through a lot of the science that I briefly mentioned. He went through a lot of things like that to help me understand what was happening, that my body was holding on to the belly fat purposefully because it was saying, oh shit, Adam's might kill himself. What is Adam running from? Why is Adam so stressed? I've got to build up a lot of fat so that in case we need to keep him fed for the winter, I can have these reserves already on the body and he won't have to worry. So I decided to listen to him finally and started doing my walks. It became a beautiful thing. It became a beautiful thing because I would get out every single day. I'm a podcaster. I do podcasts all day. On some of the days, I'll do podcasts several hours on Wednesday usually. And so I'll do podcast. And then I started to just block out my noon. I blocked out lunchtime, and I decided to make my lunchtime be a time that I would just go on a walk in the neighborhood next to my office. So I had an office. Now I have a home office, but back then I had an office, and I would turn off the computer somewhere between 11 and 12. I would do a walk as long as I could possibly go. So if I had 2 hours available, I would do about an hour and a half of a walk. And if I had only 1 hour available, if I got done with my last appointment, let's say at noon, and my next one started at 1, then I would do something like a 45-minute walk. So I would just shut off the computer. I would get out of the office, away from my fake lights that I was looking at, my computer screen with my 3 computer screens, and I would just get outside. And for me, I would also take off my shirt to get a little bit of a suntan and get extra vitamin D when weather was okay. And I would just walk down the neighborhood and back. And the interesting thing happened. I started to make more money in my business. I started having a lot of fun. I started really feeling a lot more energy. And the gut that I was like trying to get rid of, it melted away more quickly than anything else that I had tried. It was just these walks. So I want to talk about just going on a walk outside daily. If you've ever heard of this thing called 75 hard, there's a couple of people, big podcasters, that have really pushed 75 hard. And 75 hard in general, there's a lot of rules. Okay. There's a lot of rules. Like you can't drink any alcohol. There's a rule where you basically need to follow a diet. It doesn't matter what the diet is. It could be a vegetarian diet. It could be a carnivore diet. It could be a paleo diet. It could be a macro diet where you're eating a certain amount of calories or whatever. You got to follow a diet strictly for 75 days in a row. Another random thing, that you have to drink a gallon of water every day. So that's hard for a lot of people. Not too hard for me, but a lot of people are really struggle with that. And another rule for this thing called 75 hard is that you need to work out twice a day, 2 times a day. And one of those workouts needs to be outside. And the people that really push this, they suggest that one of those workouts is just a 30-minute walk outside. Just a 30-minute walk outside. And so now I'm going to get into just some of the benefits of walking. If you find yourself into a habit of walking, a lot of things can happen. One thing that definitely happened for me is I lost my gut. Another thing that definitely happened for me is by breaking up the day and getting out into the sunlight, I was able to have more mental clarity and even more energy. So a natural energy boost is there. Improved mental health and mental clarity. So mental health, meaning you're less likely to have depression, anxiety, and some other things. And so that's the mental health part. And then the mental clarity, meaning you can approach situations with a more clear head. Another thing that it benefits you with is you can sleep deeper. You have the ability to sleep better. A lot of reasons why. The walking all helps by itself. The being out in the sunlight also helps. So that's why 75 hard, they say you got to work out 2 times a day. One can be indoors, but at least one of them has to be outdoors. And they usually say we recommend it just be a 30-minute walk. All right, there's a couple of things. So you can sleep better. If you're doing it in the morning, it can also help you because we talked about in other episodes, but I'll brief it right now. The red light that you get because of how our internal clocks go, what is it called? Circadian rhythm, because of how that is, what's really beneficial for you to be outside in the morning and at noon and at night, even for a few minutes, hopefully at least 20 minutes. And if you're doing these walks, then maybe you can make it a 30-minute walk. You just leave the house or leave the office, walk 15 minutes away and turn around and walk back. And that's it. You've done a half an hour when you get back. So leave for 15 minutes. That's going to be about a half a mile, something like that for most people. And then you walk back and it's another half a mile. You're walking about a mile in a half an hour. So something like that. It can benefit your circadian rhythm. That helps you sleep better. It also helps you to be able to have more melatonin and vitamin D. And basically you gain all these other nutrients, plus your testosterone, all these other cool things. It can help you with your heart health just because it's cardiovascular. This is a form of cardio. It's just a low intensity cardio. And even the low intensity cardio is very, very good for your heart health and your cardiovascular system. I believe that it helps you stay connected with God or the universe. Whatever you believe in or don't believe in, I believe that getting outside has been a very beautiful thing to me. I've noticed that my gratitude goes way, way up because I'm always looking, I'm like, wow, I mean, look at those mountains, look at that river, look at that lake, look at that ocean, look at the clouds, look at that sunset, that sunrise. Look at the birds, look at the etc. I'm like, isn't that so beautiful? And just makes me feel like I'm connected, like in a more spiritual way with God or the universe. They say also it helps you reduce the risk of diabetes, improves your balance, and it becomes something where you can really enjoy. And also, like me, you might lose that gut. You might lose that gut and be really happy about how you look in the mirror and or how you look in a swimsuit and or how you look with your partner. And so all of these amazing benefits of just getting outside every single day, kind of like following the 75 hard. And as a podcaster, I sometimes would even do a 5-minute walk. If I had like 10, 15 minutes break, I might just go on a 3, 4, 5, 10-minute walk. And I always felt more clear and able to approach my podcasting and or another meeting that I had. Plus, I would be able to get my steps in and make my coach happy as well. So there's a lot of cool things that can happen. And I think it will help you as a podcaster if you incorporate this as a daily practice, if at all possible. I also have treadmill at my desk. It'll definitely help me get the steps. It's not going to help me get the sun, but it'll help me get the steps, especially when it's way too cold or way too hot outside, or if I just don't think that I have time to do whatever. So there's a couple of benefits. There's a couple of things you can do. And I'm hoping that this benefited you a little bit to be able to be a better podcaster, to have something that will help you as like a healthy habit. And I'll see you on the next episode. It's going to be an interview with somebody who's a little farther ahead than you. You might have been doing this for a couple of years. Maybe they're a little bit further. And I'm going to extract the things that they're doing right, the things that they're doing wrong, just to benefit you so that you are a better podcaster. I'll see you on the next episode.
Oh, hey, because 3 of my clients came to me recently looking to find a way to have their podcast make them money instead of cost them money. We put together a resource for some of our clients, and I want to give it to you as well. It's something that did actually seem to help because one of them is now making $2,600 a month, another one's $4,500 a month, and the third is making between $5,000 and $10,000 each month. And so it's been a resource that's been incredibly valuable to them. It's our sponsor sheet template. It's a template of a sponsor sheet and it gives you something that you can hand to potential sponsors and hopefully also be making $2,600, $4,500, or between 5 and 10K regularly each month with your podcast. So this has been a contributing factor to helping all three of those clients turn their podcast into an additional income stream for them. And the way that you can find it is just going to our website, growyourshow.com, but put in /templates, growyourshow.com/templates. And then you can actually download that template and others that could be valuable to your podcasting experience. I'll see you on the next episode.